What's going on, everybody? Pack a plug, back with another video, man. And I'm fired up after that first week game, preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. It was a phenomenal game for the Green Bay Packers. It was a great way to start the preseason, great way to start this season, and a great game for the first for training camp, man. It's a good look. It shows you that the team has a lot of chemistry. There was a lot of things that the team did really well, man. And so we're going to get into this video, and we're going to talk about some things. Today we're going to be talking about the running back battle in this training camp, where it's at, where it stands, what I think, how training camp is going, and potentially where these running backs can end up on this team, who could potentially be cut from this team, and who could potentially be getting a spot on this team, and that competition for the second spot right behind Josh Jacobs. Obviously, we lost Aaron Jones this season as he went to the Vikings, and we received Josh Jacobs in free agency, and that was a big step up. And if you follow this channel, you already know I love Josh Jacobs. He's younger. In my opinion, he could do so much more at the running back position, as Goody said. That's why they even went out and they got him, just because there's so much you could do with him. And he's perfect for that number one spot. He's a couple years younger than Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones was turning 30, so I think it was the right decision. I loved Aaron Jones, but Josh Jacobs is definitely a great player. Couldn't be more exciting. He's definitely going to be running back number one. He's going through a little bit of some injury stuff right now, but I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be good to go week one, hopefully, and yeah, we're just going to see how it goes. As for that second running back spot, the last few years, it has been A.J. Dillon behind Aaron Jones. And now it's going to be A.J. Dillon behind Josh Jacobs as that secondary back. And A.J. Dillon has always been a back that's kind of like a third and short kind of back, a guy that could really round and pound. In those first few years, I mean, he was phenomenal. He was good. The problem with A.J. Dillon, and I said this in the last video, and we kind of went into it without going into it too much, is A.J. Dillon just doesn't have the explosiveness that he maybe had in his younger years, and he doesn't have the explosiveness compared to these young running backs that we have now. And when you have your new draft pick, Marshawn Lloyd, who's been phenomenal in training camp. Obviously, he had the injury in this Cleveland Browns game, but he's looked good. He's looked explosive. You saw Emmanuel Wilson in this game against the Browns. Phenomenal. Dude played lights out. He played lights out, man. And honestly, like, looking at Emmanuel Wilson, how he did in that Browns game, I mean, you go to the stats right here, right? On Emmanuel Wilson, 13 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown. He played phenomenally. I mean, he could be working his way if he keeps that up, and we'll see how these next few preseason games go. Emmanuel Wilson could be in that conversation for the second running back over A.J. Dillon, and Marshawn Lloyd has been competing with him, and in my opinion, Marshawn Lloyd seeing him in training camp and see how explosive he is, in my opinion, is a step above A.J. Dillon, just because he has that explosiveness and he's young. That's something I just don't think A.J. Dillon has had. You've looked at A.J. Dillon's stats over the years, which we've had pulled up right here. His yards have only decreased as the years have gone on. His carries have kind of been the same, so that 180 range. But you've kind of seen the yards just fall. And going back to last season, I mean, he wasn't horrible, but he definitely wasn't great either. He wasn't contributing very much. He is a big back that, he just, when he falls down, he gets like a yard, he gets 2 yards, and that's great, but he doesn't have the explosiveness where he's blowing through the hole. And granted, during this preseason game against the Cleveland Browns, you do go back and you look at those 2 carries he got in that game. There wasn't much there, but there is a hesitance from A.J. Dillon when you watch him play. There is a hesitance in his game when he gets the ball that he breaks down. It's good that he has that patience, but he lacks that explosiveness to just blow through these holes or blow through these gaps that I just haven't seen in a while. It was really frustrating this last year seeing that with him and him not being able to really kind of get that going. And you just hope it doesn't carry into this next year. I mean, he's still in a lot of people's eyes probably is the number two guy right now behind Josh Jacobs. For me, I don't know. I'd say maybe Marshawn Lloyd kind of has that spot right now for me, just from training camp and how well he's done and how well he's looked. And now you see Emmanuel Wilson in this conversation, and he's competing with Ellis Merriweather and Javion Howard. And it's an interesting question. Is there a place for A.J. Dillon on this team if Marshawn Lloyd or Emmanuel Wilson become a number 2 guy and Marshawn Lloyd becomes another number 3, or vice versa? Then you have A.J. Dillon kind of falling out of this number 2 spot, falling out of kind of the number 3 spot with Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd both looking like they're going to play well. And then he's really competing. I think that's not going to happen because, A.J. Dillon is proven. He's a proven guy who's been on the team for a while. He could play well. He's been here for a few years, and not that he's a veteran, but he definitely is a more experienced Packer player, and this team is super young. Last year, they were the youngest team in the NFL. So you want to keep a guy like A.J. Dillon in the locker room because you lost someone in Aaron Jones who was kind of a veteran Packer. And again, not veteran in the sense of like he's a 10-year guy, because he's not. But in the sense of he's been around the Packers organization for a while, and he's a guy you want to keep around. And A.J. Dillon is loved in the Packer community. He's loved in the Green Bay community. He's loved in Door County. He's a great guy, and he contributes a lot to the community. But when it comes to play, you definitely have seen the struggles. And I mean, even here on the Green Bay Packers, right here, this was an article that was written about him, and it brings up a great point. A.J. Dillon, the Packers used second-round pick on Dillon in 2020 in hopes on drafting Derrick Henry 2.0. Not so much. His yards per carry fell from 3.5 as a rookie to 4.3 in 2021, then to 4.1 in 2022, and then to 3.4 in 2023. Dillon is one of the strongest running backs in the NFL, and yet somehow is one of the worst at breaking tackles. And that's something you definitely saw last season, like watching these games, and just it's frustrating. He's not the same guy that's explosive, that's breaking through these plays or shedding the tackles. It's like as soon as he's hitting someone, he's getting stuffed, and he's down right there. He's not breaking through guys the way we're used to seeing him doing before and breaking through these holes. The explosiveness isn't there. The pop isn't there. And it's frustrating. I mean, this sums it up perfectly, man. And you got to love A.J. Dillon, but I think the conversation is definitely shifting to, okay, who's going to be the number 2 guy? Marshawn Lloyd or Emmanuel Wilson? Because Marshawn Lloyd, man, let me tell you, Marshawn Lloyd is a stud. He's explosive. You see that in training camp. He's going to be a guy that's going to definitely be explosive and hit these holes eventually if he can get it right, man. And then seeing Emmanuel Wilson play how he played on Cleveland, you get 2 more games. They go up to the Denver Broncos, and he plays that same exact way. Then they come home, and he plays that same exact way against the Ravens. We might be having a conversation of who's the number 2 back, Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson. Then A.J. Dillon's in there in that back-end conversation with Ellis Merriweather and Jarvion Howard on who's making the team. Do I think this is going to happen? Probably not. Let's be real. A.J. Dillon's probably going to make the team. But he's definitely falling out of that conversation of who's going to be the number 2 guy. And for me, it goes Josh Jacobs number 1, it goes Marshawn Lloyd number 2, and it goes Emmanuel Wilson potentially for number 3. How it's looking after this, and we're overreacting, right? The reality is A.J. Dillon's still going to probably be number 2. He's probably going to be number 3. We're going to see how it goes, man. This was a conversation that happened when Aaron Jones was gone. They picked up Josh Jacobs, and they said, ooh, what's going to happen with A.J. Dillon? They brought him back. He's here on the team. But it looks like these young running backs have potential, and you got to love it. You got to love it. In terms of that game and the stats, let's see how Ellis Merriweather went 2 carries for 7 yards. Not too great, but I mean, that's the same as Dillon. Dillon went 4 for 2. I mean, that's not very good. I mean, 2 for 7 is better than 4 for 2. Then you look at Jarvion Howard, 8 for 44. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, man. And it's just becoming a conversation of where does A.J. Dillon fit in this team for me. That is the most interesting headline from this whole thing out of this running back group. But in terms of the whole running back group and training camp in general, you got to be excited. It looks like we have some young running backs who are explosive. Marshawn Lloyd has looked great. I want to see him in these next preseason games. I hope his injury's fine. He has that hamstring. We're gonna see what becomes of it, and hopefully he's all right, man. And I want to see him in these games be explosive, not just in training camp, but we gotta wait to see him in these preseason games. And can he be explosive in live games against other teams, against other defenses? But Emmanuel Wilson, man, props to that guy. He was phenomenal. He got a touchdown against Cleveland. And in my opinion, he kind of looked like the standout on the offense this whole first preseason game, man. Look out for Emmanuel Wilson and having a potential number 2 spot on this team. Potentially. It might be a reach, but potentially he's in the conversation, man. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is there a spot for A.J. Dillon on this team? Is this an overreaction? Is he definitely still the number 2 guy? Is he the number 3 guy and competing with these 2 young guys and kind of losing that explosiveness? Is he falling toward that back end where he could potentially be cut from the team? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you guys subscribe. The channel's been growing like crazy. Couldn't appreciate you guys more. For everyone following Packer Plug, I appreciate it so much, man. Let's keep it going. I'm excited for next week. We're going to keep the videos going this week and probably break down more position battles going through this Packer training camp. Thank you guys so much. Packer Plug. I'm out.